Hey everybody, movie reviewer next story here, and I'm back with another review. And this time, I'm reviewing Shaft's Big Score from 1972. This is a crime film directed by Gordon Parks, and it stars Richard Roundtree, Moses Gunn, Drew Bundini Brown, Joseph Mascolo, and Julius Harris. In this film, John Shaft is back as the lady-loved black detective cop on the search for the murderer of a client. So, what did I think of Shaft's Big Score? Well, I do think it's an improvement on the first. Maybe I'll be disagreed with, I don't know. But I think it improves a lot of issues I had with the first, especially dialogue-wise, and I'll get to that. And I think Richard Roundtree does a better job. He seems more into the role. But let me get to the cast. Richard Roundtree plays John Shaft. I think he does a still pretty decent job around all around. Um, I wouldn't put him up there with Dirty Harry or um, even John Wayne as McHugh or Brannigan, but he doesn't do a bad job. I don't think so. Um, Moses Gunn plays Bumpy Jonas. He's kind of basically an extended cameo. He really doesn't do much here. All of these things online keep saying that he's like a recurring villain, but he never really does anything to Shaft. He's never really the one hurting Shaft. He's more like, yeah, I need you for the job. He's more like an M to him instead of a Blofeld, like a lot of people keep saying. But yeah, I really don't understand why people keep saying he's like a villain. Yeah, he does bad things. He's part of the mafia, but like he doesn't really do anything to Shaft. He's but he's not really against him, really. He's more using him. Drew Bundini Brown as Willie. He's fine, barely in the film as well. Joseph Mascolo plays Gus Mascola. I guess you'd call him the villain. He's fine. Nothing amazing. He's at least not like mustache twirling all most of the time, so that's something. And wanted to give a shout out to Julius Harris, plays Captain Bullen. He's fine in the film, but you might recognize him as Teehee, one of the henchmen from Live and Let Die, the James Bond film, which has been classed as blaxploitation often, which I don't see other than a lot of the cast being black. I don't understand the blaxploitation label. And that comes to something that I do want to discuss in this video. I won't go into it as much as I did the first video because it more annoyed me there. Someone needs to explain to me what blaxploitation means in words other than, oh, it has to do with the Black Power movement of the 60s and 70s. Because all I really see here is movies starring black people that have dialogue that constantly it's like, oh, the black people don't like the white people because racism and stuff, acting as if all white people are racist, which is a complete fucking lie. Um, as if other races can't be racist, but it really confuses me the classification of this because it just kind of feels like every other detective film of the time, especially the first Shaft. Because I actually enjoyed this one. I thought, for one, the pace. The pace of the first was miserable for me because you get like, let's say for action, even though I know these aren't classed as action films, they're more just crime. You get a kind of shitty fist fight in Shaft's office. Excuse me, from two of the henchmen. You get one bit where somebody's shooting off a machine gun, just like taking out these guys, and the bit at the end where they take forever to set up a 1 minute long action scene. Um, so nothing much for action to split up the kind of boring, the super boring exposition dump scenes, which a lot of these scenes in the first Shaft felt like exposition dumps. And it wasn't like the information was told in a way that could be entertaining or interesting. It was just like blanket exposition and a lot of characters that were just pantomime. In this film, yes, they do leave a lot of the action for the climax still, but they sprinkle it in every so often where it makes sense. There's like a bit where there's these hitmen come to take out Shaft, and that was a nice scene. And I will say, near the end, that action scene is actually very well done. And I'd say it beats, and even though I don't like it more than Dirty Harry, I'm always gonna like Dirty Harry more. Sorry, it is better, I think, than most of the action in Dirty Harry. The ending scene of Shaft's big score, because you get like uh Shaft with this like shotgun with a scope that he's shooting at this helicopter and he's shooting it at these guys. He shoots a couple guys in the stomach and it's just like pretty violent to be honest for 72. Um you didn't really normally see movies like this that violent. And I'm a bit confused because the copies of the films I have are from Britain or the UK. Uh the first film has a British rating of 15 and an Irish rating of 18, both 15 and 15 for big score. And I'm a bit confused why the Irish rating would be lower for the second one. Maybe because there's not as much nudity. I don't know, but it's this one's quite a bit more violent than the first. And a lot of people were talking about how the first one was a bit too violent for a lot of people back then, which I really don't understand. It wasn't that violent. There's a couple squibs, but I will I do want to mention similarities here. Shaft's big score, the ending scene where it's Shaft running away from this helicopter. Even though that's not what happened in the end of Dirty Harry, it did remind me of Dirty Harry. I'm not saying it's a ripoff. I'm not petty. I'm just saying I noticed some similarities in how it was paced out. Because the ending of Dirty Harry was also kind of a culmination of everything that had happened up until then. And it was a big long chase scene against Scorpio and uh Harry. Harry Callahan. But again, I enjoy the film, Shaft's big score. I don't really I still don't think it's like classic level, and I am actually curious about Shaft in Africa. I hope they don't overdo the racial commentary there too, because from what I understand, it's about a slavery cartel. So it's probably is, but maybe at least we'll get some more action and it'll be better paced, even though it is almost 2 hours. But still, um, my main issue with the first film again was my two main issues were the pacing and the dialogue, because half of the dialogue in the first film was like, "Oh, you stupid honky," "Oh, uh, I'm just an N-word to you," and all the white people were either evil or racist uh or they're just like it really felt like a child had written it. It felt like a child who had had like a teacher that was like teaching them critical race theory, and it's like, okay, now that you are an African American child, you from now on, all white people will be seen as better than you. So you need to be racist back to them. That's what it felt like in the first film. Here, they toned it down a lot. There's still some moments, but it's not nearly as overdone as it is in the first. And I'm really embarrassed that people. Okay, I'm not embarrassed, but I find it odd that people give the first film a fucking like they're like, oh yeah, it's a fantastic film. It's so well written and all that. and then they say this one is like mediocre in comparison. I had a lot more fun with this one. I was entertained by this one. And isn't the whole point of film supposed to be entertainment? Crime movies are supposed to be entertainment still, even if you learn a message. Some crime movies have messages. Some of them get by, some of them don't. In the first film, I don't get what they're going for. I just think it's a very boring film that doesn't age well. That I kind of feel the same way here that I do with Doctor No and From Russia with Love, where Doctor No, I don't hate Doctor No. I think it's decent. I don't think it's nearly one of the best films in the series, though. It's closer to the worst in the series, but it's still not a bad film to me. But From Russia with Love took all of the issues that I had with Doctor No and threw them away because it understood what to do. It understood how to make it better. They upped the action. They made the pace better. They had, well, Sean Connery was doing a much better job in this in it than in the first. The villain was more interesting. The villains were more interesting. Um, because there's some really decent action in From Russia with Love that's not really in Doctor No, because in Doctor No it's still something that they were trying out. It's more of an experiment. That's what I feel like it was with Shaft, because it feels like an experiment that didn't 100% land. And with Shaft's Big Score, it feels like kind of like, oh, we redid the movie, kind of, and tweaked some things. The action's better, the pace is better, the dialogue isn't as stupid. Because I think the dialogue in the first film is legitimately retarded at times. Um, but yeah, it's oh yeah, the music too. Gordon Parks ends up doing the music instead of Isaac Hayes. The director ends up doing the music, and I think he does a good job. For the most part, it's really good. There are times where it can get a bit ear blasty, but I will say the audio in this is much better than the first film. But good God, the like, why did these not have 5.1 audio tracks? Do I have to get the Criterion release? Because I doubt the Criterion release would have it. They've been kind of lazy in some of their releases semi recently. But yeah, like I don't really have a ton to say about it. Um, I will say, well, I don't know. There's not much left for me to say about it. I think it's a decent enough crime thriller. Uh, again, how would I improve it? I'd again sprinkle a bit more action throughout. Maybe have a bit more learn have us learn a bit more about the villain. I do think the villain plot is actually kind of resolved a bit weird. It feels a bit out of place. Um, maybe if you've seen the film, you understand what I mean. But yeah, I wish there was a bit better of an ending. Um, but still, I enjoyed it. I can at least say that. And yeah, that was my review of Chef's Big Score. If you've seen the film, let me know what you think in the comments. Got any requests for films I should review? Leave them in the comments as well. And movie reviewer next door. Out.